Planeswalkers, trainers, duelists, and tamers. Welcome. I hope you all enjoyed your holidays. As a little holiday treat to myself, I picked up this Yu-Gi-Oh! Legendary 5D's decks. I've been waiting for this since it was announced. 5D's is my favorite era of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a big reason why I've been doing a lot of Edison lately. I do have some Edison content planned for down the road, so stay tuned for that. But I wanted this so bad. I think this box is so cool. I love 5Ds. I love the characters. I remember being in high school and watching weekly the subversions on whatever sketchy websites I could find them on. I thought the story was so cool. The characters were so cool. The cards were so cool. And playing with them and watching as, you know, they were in the show and then they came out, and then it's just all the cool 5D stuff. I just love it so much. I think this is so sick. And we're at this point now where, you know, the pull rates on a lot of these sets for whatever card game you're into, you could open, you know, a couple $1,000 card, or you could just open nothing, and you could buy these packs and get nothing. And rather than kind of roll the dice and risk it on, you know, that dopamine hit of a booster pack, I'm much more interested in products like this where you know what you're going to get. It's all guaranteed. There's a whole list here on the back of everything that comes with this. This is 3 decks and then some promo cards. So there's a plant deck for Akiza, there's a junk deck for Yusei, and there's a Blackwing deck for Crow. So let's crack this open. I'm going to be very careful because I kind of want to save the box if I can. And, oh, I think, all right. Not too bad. I'll take it. So let's get this open. All right, we got the Blackwing deck. We got the plant deck. Ooh, we got some promo cards. And we got the junk deck. Okay. Just leave the box there to look at here. All right, we'll start with these promos. This is probably the coolest part. I've had mixed feelings about some of these chibi cards, but I just think these are so sick. We got the Stardust Dragon. You can never have too many Stardust Dragons. Ugh, this is gorgeous. The Black Rose Dragon. It's another staple, especially in Edison format. Black Winged Dragon, unfortunately, did not make the cut into Edison. It came out in the set after the Shining Darkness. The cutoff for Edison is Absolute Power Force, or I think it's technically Duelist Pack Guy, but the core set was Absolute Power Force. So this was right after, but man, oh man. One of my favorite cards. I remember on Thanksgiving as a kid, my mom surprised me with the Black Winged Dragon tin. And then we got these chibi tokens, which are probably more polarizing than the chibi cards themselves. You either love these or you hate these. But we got Yusei, Akiza, who always, I thought, looked like Colin from Code Geass for a couple of reasons. And we got Crow. He's on his cool little dual runner there. Okay. I am going to sleeve up the hollows here. Of course, I've got some Dragon Shields. Not sponsored or anything, but that's just the brand I've used forever. I have some of the very first Dragon Shields I've ever owned still, and they're many, many years old. Ugh. Love these little promos. Definitely going to be using these Chibi Synchros in my extra deck for Edison. I've got a few decks that I'm kind of building right now. I've been tweaking and finalizing some ratios. I'm going to be putting an order in to just get all those cards, and then we'll be, once the decks are all finished, we'll have some profiles up here. Let's start with the plant deck. There's actually some good Edison reprints in here. Now, Miracle Fertilizer sees some play, and I don't know if it's ever been hollow before, but I know this is a pretty good Ultra treatment here. And we got Ultra Black Garden. I know this was originally a think a super in Crossroads of Chaos, but this is a really cool card. I love the art on it. I love the gameplay with it. It's a very fun and unique card, I feel. Basil Rose Shoot. I'm not sure if this is a brand new card or if this is just a card I'm not familiar with. It's a cool Black Rose Dragon on there. Blooming of the Darkest Rose. A lot of these plant cards always had really cool names and really cool artwork. And Perialis, Empress of Blossoms. Okay. Definitely don't know this one. Here we go, Lone Fire Blossom. This one I definitely do know. This is a really good reprint for Edison, and you get 3 of them, which is huge. I think it's a 2 in Edison, but still, you know, you can never have too many Lone Fire Blossoms if you want to play it in multiple decks. He's playing stuff like Gigavise or Quick Draw, or kind of the Plant Engine gets splashed into a lot of stuff, and Lone Fire is definitely a really cool card to have. Witch of the Black Rose. I know when this came out, a lot of people were trying to play with it and do different kind of combo decks, I think with like Gallus the Star Beast and that kind of strategy. We got Spore. Spore was another one that came out in the Shining Darkness, so that missed the Edison cutoff, but man, this is a cool card. I used to have so many Spores, and I would color on them with different Sharpies and make little designs out of them and trade them to people. They loved it. And we got Rose Lover, Blue Rose Dragon, Ghost Ogre, and Snow Rabbit. This is another reason that these decks are great, is they come with so many modern hand traps. I know Ghost Ogre is not really on the better side of that, but it's still a good card to have. These are just so cool. Like, it's just so cool to have all these hand traps and things if, for whatever format you kind of want to play them in. Red Rose Dragon, got 3 of those. White Rose Dragon, we got 3 of those. It looks like the Rose Dragons are just their own archetype now. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. I love the little ghost there. I think Ghost Ogre was the first one of these little kind of, you know, anime girls, and I didn't think at the time when she was released that they would have like a whole series of them. I don't think anybody did, but we got Rose Princess, Rose Girl, Rox Rose Dragon. Okay, it's another place out of those. Ruddy Rose Witch. Place out of those. Molcharmy Meowls. Okay, so these are kind of based off of Max C, except where Max C is just any special summon, these have like specific conditions, and then you can only use one other Molcharmy. So you kind of get to pick and choose what you're drawing for, and then you got to put your cards back if you hit a certain number. I was reading about these. I know that these are, I think they were only secret rare, and then I think they maybe got a reprint in one of the rarity collections, so it's pretty cool to have these at common for people to be able to play with. I don't do a lot of Modern myself, but it's good that the players have access to these. And of course, Monster Reborn, one of the oldest cards in the game, and everybody knows what Monster Reborn does. Terraforming's another good one. You can search your Black Garden. There's a Common Miracle Fertilizer. There's another copy of Black Garden. Fragrant Storm. This is a cool one. Target a plant monster in the field, destroy it, and if you do, draw a card, and then if that card is a plant monster, you can reveal it and draw one more card. I always liked these kind of kill something, draw a card effects. They were doing a lot of these in the 5D's era. Thorn and Malice, Frozen Rose, White Rose Cloister, Basil Rose Shoot, Infinite Impermanence. This is another one. This is like Effect Veiler on a trap card. I always thought this was an interesting card design. I think that's Cyber Dragon Infinity on the artwork. I believe across all 3 decks you get a playset of these, so that is huge again for modern players. We got a common Black Rose Dragon. Definitely a lot different than the chibi version, but does the same thing. Can never have too many Black Roses. We got Splendid Rose. This also came out in Shining Darkness, I believe. This was like a house in the pre-release. I think I pulled one of these and just dominated with it. This was a really cool card. Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, Garden Rose Maiden, Cross Rose Dragon. We got 2 of those. Ready Rose Dragon, 2 of those, and Garden Rose Flora. Okay. So So that's the plant deck. Alright, now we will take a look at the Black Wings. I've been playing a lot of Black Wings in Edison. I just think this deck is so much fun. Of course, there's a lot of new Black Wing cards in here, but the original OG Black Wings, I love those so much. I love the art. I love the strategy. It's a very mid-range deck, which is definitely my play style. Alright, and starting, of course, we got one of the best ones, Vayu, the Emblem of Honor. And Ultra Rare Icarus Attack. Oh my god, that is gorgeous. This is definitely one of the best cards in Edison format. Just sack a Wing Beast, pop 2 cards on the field. Crazy. Blackbird Close. I remember that. I want to say this was in the Duelist Pack Crow for its first printing, but don't quote me on that necessarily. But that was a cool card. And you get an Ultra Rare Armor Master, which is, of course, a really good reprint. Armor Master is a staple in definitely Black Wings, but some people, especially if you're just playing Gale, you might just throw it in there because it only needs a Black Wing tuner and then any non-tuners. We got No Thung, the Starlight. It's a newer one. And we got a Gale, which is great. Again, you can't have too many Gales. Bora, another good one. And we got some more hand traps. We got Droll and Lockbird. So this is a crazy card. There were all kinds of loops and things you could do with this and trick stars and just get rid of your opponent's whole hand. Chris, the Crack of Dawn. I remember when this came out, everybody was hyping up Black Wings again. My buddy, his name is Chris. He was all excited. He's like, yeah, they named the best Black Wing after me. And we got Sharnga, the Waning Moons. Yeah, I definitely don't know this one. Orochi, the Squall. Harmattan, the Dust. Oh, okay, we got Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So we got 2 of those, and then I think there's a third one across. I think it must be in the Yusei deck. But this is another. This card has just been an absolute staple since its printing. I remember I went to a card shop around the time this came out, and there was a Maximum Crisis Special Edition on the shelf, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to crack that and pull an Ash Blossom, and it's going to be so sick. And I did exactly that, and everybody's like, how did you know? And it's like, sometimes you just know, you know? All right, we got Simoon, the Poison Wind. I think this is like the big kind of combo enabler in the newer versions of Black Wing decks. He's got some cool artwork. I love how the Black Wings kind of have different vibes. They're all birds, but they have different like designs as birds. And we got Ghost Mourner and Moonlit Chills, another one of the little hand trap girlies. Vata, the Emblem of Wandering. Yeah, see, he's definitely like, you know, related to Vayu in some way. Where's my Vayu? Kind of have the same look, the same kind of like, you know, delinquent school uniform style attire. Oh, you got 3 of those. This one, Shamal the Sandstorm. Chinook the Snow Blast. Sudri the Phantom Glimmer. It's got really cool names. There's another Mulcharmy, Fuelos. So this is like a bird one. So that makes sense why they put it in the Crow deck. I think we get 1 of each, and each one is in a deck. So if you wanted to keep these decks built as is and then play them with each other, you know, I feel like they'd probably be pretty balanced against each other. Especially they each get 1 Mulcharmy and they're all different. This one's pretty cool. I think this might have been the first one. It's either this one or I think the Jellyfish was one of those 2. I think was the first Mulcharmy. MST, of course, is another staple. Book of Moon's another staple. Black Whirlwind at 2, which is perfect numbers for anybody that wants to play Black Wings in Edison, so it's always nice to have extra copies of Black Whirlwind. Forbidden Chalice is a huge reprint, I think. This card is insane. I love Forbidden Chalice. I love all the Forbidden cards. Forbidden Lance is one of my favorite cards in the entirety of card games. I just think it's so well designed, super interesting and unique and powerful card. Called by the Grave. This is another, it's a newer-ish card from like when I was really playing, but this is the kind of the perfect thing to stop all those hand traps that they're giving to you. So we got Black Feather Whirlwind. So this must be like kind of a power crept updated version of Black Whirlwind. Delta Crow anti-reverse. This saw a lot of play back in the day. I don't think anybody now plays it in Black Wings, but I know this was like, holy crap! You know, you gotta play a Delta Crow. We got Blackwing Twin Shadow, and then we got the extra deck. Okay, so we got Armed Wing, which is a huge reprint. Silver Wind, which is a huge reprint because I think the base, you know, the cheapest copies of this were like a few bucks each. It was up there, and it's only very seldom are you going to actually like really synchro summon this. This is 9 times out of 10 your value in your Armor Master, but you need it for those, you know, 1 in 100 game scenarios where it comes in handy. So it's nice to be able to just have a reprint of that. Then we got a normal Blackwing Dragon, which of course again looks much different than the chibi copy, but we got Blackwing Full Armor Master, Blackwing Assault Dragon. We got 2 of those. Blackwing Boreas Storm, the Wicked Wind. We got 2 of those. Okay. So that was the Blackwing deck. Some cool reprints in there. Definitely nice to get a value. Most people only play value in regular Blackwings, like 1 to 2 copies. So that's perfect. Now we got the final deck, and probably my favorite of the 3. I love Yusei's like junk cards, and the fact that his deck just reminds me of all the decks that I built when I was younger and growing up, where it didn't really have necessarily a cohesive theme or a strategy or an archetype. It was just the 40 best cards I could get my hands on and a little bit of my personality in there. And I think that really speaks to kind of the theme of 5Ds itself, of just, you know, kind of grow where you're planted and make do with what you have. You know, nothing's really truly useless. You can always find a way to use a card if you're a real duelist. So we got Full Speed Warrior, which is definitely, you know, an upgrade of Speed Warrior. Scrap Synchron, which is really cool. It's a scrap card. It's searchable with Scrapyard because it's a tuner, but it's also a Synchron. And I just love the artwork on all these little guys. Synchro Fellowship. This is really cool. These are all Yusei's iconic main deck monsters here. We got Junk Warrior Extreme. So this is an upgraded version of Junk Warrior. We got Scrap Warrior. To go with our Scrap Synchron. Anchor Bolt Hedgehog. So this is obviously Quillbolt Hedgehog. Crossroads Sonic Chick. One-Way Synchro. This is really cool. This is just straight out of the anime of just him riding up that infinity loop there. And we got 2 copies of Junk Synchron. I love Junk Synchron. I love his hat, and you can actually just tell it's like a pot with the little handles on the side. And I thought he was so cool when he came out. And, you know, you bring back the Speed Warrior, go into Junk Warrior, boom, boom, boom. I loved it from day one. Wheel Synchron, this is really cool. This is obviously based on Yusei and his dual runner, which is named Yusei Go. Stardust Synchron, obviously looks like a Stardust Dragon. You get 3 of those. Revolution Synchron looks just like a Power Tool Dragon. Satellite Synchron. Assault Synchron. Jet Synchron, I know this one. Junk Converter, I know this is a really good card. This is kind of like the combo enabler for this deck here. Doppel Warrior, this was really good. After Edison, there were all kinds of these Doppel Plant decks, and you would drop this guy out and synchro and make all these tokens, and there were all these like loops into Quasar. We got Effect Veiler. Oh my goodness. I have not seen an Effect Veiler in so long. This was not really the technically first hand trap, but I would say this was the first one that saw a ton of like meta play. This was like a staple in every deck. If you had Veilers, you were playing Veilers. This card was so iconic, especially for the time, and you know, some people were trying to justify not playing it, and you know, mostly it was for budgetary reasons. I think she was like 30 or 40 bucks on release, and it was so good to be able to stop something, to, you know, to be able to stop your opponent's monster without having a card on the field and react to them without even taking your turn yet was just insane. This was huge when it came out, and you know, it still sees some play today, which is, I think, is just crazy. And there's our third Ash Blossom. And yeah, you know, she was kind of a a girl, but definitely a different design than like the, the Ghost Ogre, the Ash Blossom types of cards. And we got our final Molcharmy Perulia. This is the jellyfish one. Got on your mark, get set, duel. Yeah, see, I love the dual runners and the different, speed duel type things. We got tunings. So we get 2 of the regular artwork. This card was huge when it was printed. And then we get a new artwork featuring Junction Grand revving up his little engine there. Duelist Genesis, of course, named after the first 5D's set. Synchro Rumble, Clashing Souls, Scrap Fist, 1-for-1. This is a really cool card. It's such a hard negative in card advantage, but it is pretty powerful if you can pitch something that's, you want in the graveyard, especially later on when you get things like Glow Up Bulb. You can like pitch a Dandelion, get some tokens, get your Glow Up Bulb, go into Formula, mill one, go into another Formula, just do a bunch of nonsense. 1-for-1's a super cool card. Scrapyard. This is, I feel like, a big reprint. I think this was kind of climbing up there because I don't think it really had too many reprints, if any. So it's nice to be able to have this. Scraps were huge when they came out. Called by the Grave, another one. Crossout Designator. This is a cool card. And Forbidden Droplet is another cool card. Definitely different design than the other, like Forbidden Chalice, Forbidden Lance, Dress, like I was talking about. But Synchro Zone. There's a third Impermanence. We got a Junk Warrior with different artwork. We got a Junk Speeder. There's another Stardust Dragon. Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon. Formula Synchron. Stardust Warrior. Shooting Star Dragon. Oh, I loved the Shooting Star Red Nova Dragon. I was playing a Flamvel deck and I incorporated Baby and Poon and Archer into it so that I could, do a huge rekindling, and then I could make Formula go into Shooting Star, or I could do Archer and Baby into Red Nova Dragon. It wasn't the best deck, but it was super fun. And then we will end on the legendary 5D's decks with probably one of the most impactful, crazy, iconic cards of 5D's, Crimson Dragon. So I love these decks. I think these are so cool. If you are on the fence about getting them, definitely grab them. It was, I think, $31.99. A ton of cool cards in here, a ton of cool reprints. I will be putting out some Edison content. I'll be putting some of these cards in to build my decks, and I'll be upgrading my extra deck with these chibis. I'll be using these tokens for my tokens and so on, and probably keep the box and just kind of sit it on the shelf. It's such a, I love the kind of cyberpunk vibe. But that's going to do it for my 5D's Legendary Decks opening. Let me know how you guys feel about 5D's and the set, and let me know what stuff you're looking forward to. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.